Hello, everyone. I'm pretty excited right now because we've taken Coffee Break School Psychology on the road.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. I have my travel mug, and I am thrilled to be here with Danna Thomas of the Happy Teacher Revolution. Did I get it right?
You got it. Nailed it.
All right. And yes, we are in a bus, and this bus has a name, and I expect you to address it properly by the name. Tell us the name of this bus, and tell me, why are we in a bus?
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. This is Begonia, and this is Begonia's very first podcast.
Okay.
So this is a big deal. Cheers. And Begonia is a school bus from Austin Independent School District. She's been completely converted into a motorhome, and I've been living on Begonia. I drove her across the country from Baltimore all the way here to California. And we have been on the road. We've hit some bumps. We've made some wrong turns, but all the while, it's all in the mission to support and serve our educators' mental health and well-being, holding support groups with Happy Teacher Revolution, doing some book signings with my debut book, Happy Teacher Revolution, the Educator's Roadmap to Claiming and Sustaining Joy. So we took it right on the road, and now we're here at your house.
And my neighbors are going to have something to say on next door, and that's fine. I feel like that's a perfect metaphor about bumps and wrong turns and recalculating.
Yep.
It's the perfect thing to talk about because, as you know, one of the things that I love to talk about and why we're here today is because we have a burnout crisis.
Yeah.
And it's not a new crisis, but I think finally it's getting the airtime it really deserves. So can we just start with like a little bit of like your backstory? Like how did you get on this bus and this mission of supporting teachers?
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. So my journey started before I was a teacher, when I was still a student. I struggled in high school and again in college with anxiety and depression and panic attacks. And I consider my teachers my emotional first responders who supported me in ways that saved my life, to be honest. I represented the 1 in 4 Americans that grapples with mental illness. I represented the 1 in 10 college students who has contemplated suicide. That number is now 1 in 5.
Oh, wow.
And the onset of mental illness most frequently occurs between the ages of 17 and 24. And so that was the age range that I was really struggling. And my teachers didn't just help me make it to graduation, but they're the reason I'm alive today on this school bus of my dreams, getting to talk to you all about it. So I owe them my life. And they're the reason I became a teacher myself. And it wasn't until I became Miss Thomas that I realized and recognized firsthand the lack of preparedness and ongoing support for the emotional demands of the job for the teachers. I realized, nobody was asking us, the adults, are you okay? And again, I owe my life to my teachers for asking me, are you okay? But then it wasn't until I became a teacher, I thought, wow, there's a huge gap here. And I also recognized that there was a lack of support around the vicarious trauma of the job and working with populations of young people that have experienced trauma firsthand, whether it's previous trauma, ongoing trauma, generational trauma. We know that trauma in a child's life can range from any number of things, whether it's moving neighborhoods or moving countries or losing a pet or losing a parent, witnessing an act of gun violence, surviving a natural disaster like a hurricane or a flood or a forest fire, and surviving through a global pandemic is also an incident of trauma. And so I was very outspoken about my journey with mental illness, and I was going to walks. I was the national spokeswoman for NAMI Maryland, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. I was sharing articles on Facebook. I was just yapping all about mental health. And it made some people feel uncomfortable, but I thought, you know what, if there's just at least one person who seeks help and chooses life, then it's worth it. And come to find out, there were so many teachers, colleagues, support staff, adults in the building who really craved the opportunity, as we say in Happy Teacher Revolution, to feel, deal, and be real about the social emotional demands of the job.
I love that, and I love that you have taken what was a great struggle to you and your pain and kind of turned it into medicine for not only yourself, but the teachers that you support. And as a professional yapper myself, make people feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but I think it's so important we shed a light on mental health for not only our students,
Yeah.
but for the teachers supporting the students
Yeah.
or school psychologists or whatever your
Exactly.
role is out there. Bus drivers, everybody
Yeah.
has a role in supporting students. And, you know, I think there's something out there, and I just wanted to kind of test the waters for you. There's sort of messaging out there that there's a burnout problem, but it's not said explicitly, but it's sort of like a teacher's self-care fail. Like you're not bubble bathing enough, or you're not working out, or you're not mindful enough. What is, like, would you say, like, the biggest misconception about teachers who are holding so much, and not just teachers, but support staff, holding so much, their own personal challenges, the kids' challenges, and as you mentioned, vicarious trauma, which is essentially the process by which you're hearing these kids' struggles and challenges, and then you're absorbing them because you care so much.
Yeah.
What is a misconception that as you go across the country in this beautiful beast called that you're hearing?
Yeah, the biggest thing is that we can't individualize our way into systemic change when it comes to workplace well-being for education. Forbes magazine, very prominent business organization and publication, came out with a study that said the exemplar for miserable workplace environments are the U.S. schools.
Wow.
Look no further than a school building to see what not to do in the workplace when it comes to well-being. So putting the onus on the teacher yet again is something that feels kind of like a blame game or like pointing fingers. The other thing is that the self-care industry is a profitable one, and we're talking trillions of dollars that comes from a very privileged viewpoint, like through an Instagram feed or social media. It looks like bubble baths and treating yourself, but in my book, there's a teacher who says self-care isn't treating yourself, it's taking care of yourself. So it's not necessarily overspending or doing these like individualized things before or after the school day or in the weekends, but rather what are ways that you can set boundaries or say no, or prioritize different ways that you can support your well-being that might even look like omission and doing less.
Can I just tell you that I'm going to join you in this bus, and we are now...
There's room.
Because what you're saying is so powerful, is that self-care is done off the job and can be expensive or requires treating yourself, but we're really looking for on-the-job strategies.
Yep.
If you had the ear of every single educator, teacher, support staff, and you had like one thing, and I know this is a very hard question to answer, or one mindset, like what would you advise them to do in the day when the stress is actually happening?
Yeah, the power of a deep breath is monumental. And I think the other thing is that it's not just integrating well-being during the workday for yourself, but imagine integrating it and therefore modeling well-being for your students. I believe the best social emotional curriculum money can buy is an adult who's well rested, who ate lunch on their lunch break, actually went to the bathroom when they needed to go to the bathroom, and are living these principles of social emotional learning in real time, fostering social awareness and relationship awareness and those types of things. But if I had the ear of every leader and every individual who has skin in the game when it comes to education and policy, there's two big issues in the field today, and it's a new frontier in terms of supporting teacher well-being. I mean, it's bizarre to me that it's 2025 and it's something that this is seemingly new to talk about and the research around, but the biggest thing is that there's been conflating of burnout with well-being. And what I mean by that is that just because teachers might be less burnt out doesn't mean that they're well. Wow. So just because they're surviving doesn't mean that they're thriving. And there's been such a focus on the negative issues of education and the burnout and, again, like the negative forces and what's wrong and all of these things, but less of an emphasis on the solutions, the protective factors, and things that work, like Happy Teacher Evolution.
Yeah, it's almost like it's framed as like, oh, teacher well-being, well, that's a nice to have. But it's actually a need to have. Yeah, and I agree with you 100% that, and if you're out there listening, your nervous system is a research-based intervention for supporting your kids. Yeah. That when you're rested, well, and happy, and indeed flourishing, not just surviving, and it really does make a difference for the emotional temperature of your classroom.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit to what you've uncovered in your work around the relationship between teacher well-being and student well-being?
Yeah, it's such an important connection. So the first study I really dove into was from the University of Missouri, and that study demonstrated that over 93% of teachers experience overwhelming levels of stress. And the study was done, in 2018, so long before the pandemic. So obviously those numbers have gone up. So if we apply that study, let's say, to the U.S. alone, of the 3.6 million teachers in the U.S., that means an estimated 3.3 million teachers are stressed out, which means an estimated 80 million children are sitting in the classroom of or on a Zoom call with a stressed out teacher. Well, why does that matter? There's been additional studies from the University of Arizona that linked teacher depression to low student math scores. And there was a study out of Canada, again, this is international, it's broad reaching. The University of British Columbia did a study that took biometric data from teachers and students. They took saliva samples, and I got to meet the researchers who did it, and they said the middle schoolers loved this.
They just
spitting
love
in these
bodily fluids.
They just loved it. Science is fun. That's why Miss Frizzle's my hero, you know.
By the way, just a point about Miss Frizzle since we're on a bus. Do you know what the most unbelievable part of Miss Frizzle was?
Oh, I know.
That she had 6 students.
This is the class size. Yeah.
Okay, so I can believe that she went into the Golgi body of a cell before I believe that she had 6 students and enough funding to take it. Okay, anyway, I digress. Tell me about the saliva.
True. I know, it's so true. So they took saliva samples from teachers and their students, measuring the stress hormone that we call cortisol, and come to find out that teachers with higher levels of cortisol correspondingly have students with higher levels of cortisol, which means to say stress is contagious. And the last study I'll share is from Yale Child Study Center. My background's in early childhood education, and Yale studied early childhood teachers who were stressed out, burnt out, low job satisfaction, large class sizes, unlike Miss Frizzle.
Right.
And what they were able to find was that these teachers with low job satisfaction, larger class sizes, were more likely to suspend and refer students of color more than white students, and boys more than girls at a rate of 4 times as much. Now, we also know that this type of disciplinary action that young in early childhood could potentially have an impact on reading levels in the years to come, and even as early as 3rd grade. And cities like Baltimore used to use 3rd grade reading levels to determine how many prison cells to build in the prisons in the next 20 years. So to say that this very directly affects the school to prison pipeline is an understatement. So not only does supporting teacher mental health and well-being impact student academic achievement, student social emotional learning, but it also is a social justice and an equity issue.
I'm glad you brought that up. And so now, as we are thinking about our listeners out there who are, teachers, support staff, administrators, and folks out there, what now? Like, we're so bought in. Okay, now we're bought in. Like, I'm stressed, and it makes the kids stressed, and now I feel bad about my stress because now, I feel like there's, this is a very, it's a complex topic, but is there some sort of key things that people out there listening can do? Tackling systemic burnout in the schools feels big and heavy and hard. Is there something individuals can do that you think would be something that could change the system from within? Yeah,
so I think the first big piece is emphasizing community care, which I think is left out of the equation. We talk about self-care and this individual perspective, but community care is so important in finding the folks that you can work and be and exist alongside in the most authentic way that you can. I think that it's important to recognize that there are resources out there that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, Happy Teacher Revolution is one of them. We're research-based, we're data-driven, we're supported by Johns Hopkins University. This is something that we've been doing for 10 years now. And so I'm really proud of what's been built and what teachers have built and the way that they've held space for each other. It's not therapy groups, Happy Teacher Revolution meetings. It's not a treatment space. We do love our school psychologists and folks who have a background and wisdom and foundation in group work, but we also recognize that the expertise that you bring is your own experience. And we value those individuals for their own experience in the work, that there's no homework. You just have to exist simply as you are. And it's not AA. You are allowed to drink afterwards or do whatever you do. But the idea is coming together in a way that, again, is based on data, based on research. And we're really excited. We had a study that came out just this past year that has been able to demonstrate that folks who've been part of Happy Teacher Evolution are over 6 times more likely to stay in the field for 3 or more years.
Wow.
So it's really one of the first studies of its kind linking educator well-being to retention.
That's so important. We need our good teachers, and we don't want good people leaving the field for stress. And it sounds to me, as you're talking about this idea of self-care versus community care, or not versus, and self-care and community care, I think that community care piece is really a message that I want everyone out there to really think about, is how can we take care of each other? And when you first started this podcast, like, I found myself almost like tearing up. I was like, oh, we're out of the chute. We're going to just...
We're going there.
We're just going to go there.
Yeah.
But the idea that you had a community to care for you as a youth, and now you're providing this community to others, is so special. So I just want to, let everyone out there know that it's so important you can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself. It's so cliche, right? But if you could impart sort of a final, let's call it espresso shot of knowledge about the importance of community care as it related to your personal story, what would you tell folks out there?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Also, I just wanted you to know I receive it. And the message for all of our listeners, all of our viewers, is that you can't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I think that there's a martyrdom myth that is rampant in the caregiver community, not just teachers, but anyone in any caregiver relationship intensive capacity. They say that you have to put your oxygen mask on first when you're on an airplane before assisting children and those around you. But that's in the event of emergency. And I don't really like that metaphor, because you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first all of the time, kind of like a scuba mask, unless about, in the event of crisis. So I think that we totally,
Hey, why is Begonia so mad at us?
I know, I'm so sorry about that. I think
that was Begonia putting up.
That's how you know it's live. Yeah.
That's right. Begonia's like, I agree with you.
That's it. Yeah, clap back. And honestly, to be honest, Begonia has been a symbol and a metaphor around self-care. I can't push this bus too hard up the mountains without making sure all of her fluids are okay and ready to go. And it's the same thing with pushing ourselves as teachers, And interestingly enough, I also use the metaphor of a cell phone. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, maybe it's even on your cell phone, think about how well you take care of charging your battery on your phone.
I know it's 32% right now.
Oh, no. Right? And you're like, oh my gosh, the anxiety is kind of brewing. I'll still plug it in when I'm at like 97, 98% just to get that extra 2% of juice. But if you think about when you haven't plugged in to that restorative, juicing up, and you get down to the single digits, 7%, 6%, 2%, things start glitching out, apps aren't working, it's not going well. So make sure that you're plugging into your self-care, your well-being, your strategies, things that ground your nervous system. It's unique to each person. For me, it's playing my saxophone, it's poetry, it's gardening, it's going on a walk, it's a long, warm hug from a friend and somebody that I care about, that you're really plugging into these opportunities for self-care, not just when you're at the emergency levels or not just in crisis, but all of the time.
Yes, and we have so many micro stresses that happen in the day. The copier jams, or you spill on your favorite blouse, and then we're like, oh, well, that doesn't really rise to the level of taking care of myself. That's just life. But we have to complete that stress cycle every day and really release and acknowledge, not just when we're in a crisis. So check your early warning signs, just like Begonia.
Make sure she's not beaping randomly.
She's flashing. I'm like, well, let's see how far we can push this. Like, we don't do that with our car, and we don't do that with our phone. So we, I don't like to say shouldn't, because that seems shaming, but
Yeah.
I'm inviting everyone
It's an
to
invitation.
think about how you recharge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just when things have gotten so stressful that you're like, I have to, and you just collapse into bed and Netflix and all of that. So
Exactly.
small micro steps towards self-care every single day.
Yeah.
I would love to let folks know where to find you, find your information.
Yeah. So check
Happy
out.
Teacher Revolution is a well-loved
This
copy.
is the book edition, or the bus edition, of the book tour. Yeah.
Yes, this is a rare find. You won't find this
Yeah,
in a
yours
bookstore.
will be in much better shape. But check us out at www.happyteacherrevolution.com or follow us on social media at Happy Teacher Revolution. I'm Danna, Danna, 2 N's.
Like banana.
Like banana at happyteacherrevolution.com. And this has been really special for me, Rebecca. Thank you for being part of Begonia's very first podcast. Like, it's just an honor. And I really appreciate you gracing this space, my home, with your energy, and to be in your home here in California. This is really nourishing for me. So thank you for being just a bright spot and a light to so many lives.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you all for watching. And we'll see you on the next episode of Coffee Break School Psychology. And it won't be from a bus, but it's going to be great. Thanks, everyone.